I fear excitement. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. No one stays the same. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds and the sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring, and now a wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything must change. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of. Ooh. Except Rain comes from the clouds and sun lights up the sky, y'all. Hummingbirds, they do fly. Rain comes from the clouds and sun lights up the sky. And hummingbirds, they really fly. Rain comes from the clouds, y'all, and sun lights up the sky. And hummingbirds, they really fly. Oh, hey, rain. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, hey, yeah. Hummingbirds, they really do fly. Rain. I'm talking about the clouds. And music makes me cry. Thank you so much.
Bless you. Let's thank her again. I said help yourself, and you took me at my word. God is good. God is good all the time. This morning, my title is Fear Planning. Fear planning. It's time to make a fear plan. And I am inspired by the book, When Fear Speaks, Listen, the 7 Messengers of Fear by Dennis Merritt Jones, and a TED Talk by Tim Ferriss called Why You Should Define Your Fears Instead of Your Goals. In a Science of Mind church. The Lord, this is going to be something, right? Now, Tim Ferriss is the author of the 4-Hour Work Week. So you have heard of Tim Ferriss, I'm sure. And our spiritual principle says that we believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. So my word for you is fear not, be not afraid, because God's got your back. We have strategic plans. We have operational plans. We have intention plans. And now we're going to add one to your list. It is your fear plan. Tim Ferriss, when he was a senior in college, discovered that he was having bouts of depression. He has bipolar depression. And he was planning to commit suicide. And he describes it this way: a sequence of coincidences stopped him from doing it. Coincidences. Understanding that it's absolute the goodness that streams down from the eternal that is there for us. He describes that the average person has about 10 depressive experiences in their life. He is now in his 40s and he counts 50. So he's had a tough time. But those lucky coincidences all work together for your good. See, that stuff that's going on in your life that works together for your good, you see as a coincidence. But it's all working together for your good. As a result of this, how he manages his personality and his concerns as he goes along is he practices Stoic philosophy. And this is one of the things, I'm sure, along with the other things that support his physiology. He practices Stoic philosophy. And so you've heard me, I talked about the book from Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way. Tim Ferriss is the publisher of that book. So these are our new Stoic people. And so Tim is the publisher, but he advises on this TED Talk that you need a fear plan. Now, our definition of fear is false evidence appearing real that there is any separation from the divine, that the divine is separate from the universe. We just don't believe that that's true. There is no separation. And when you have false evidence appearing real, you forget everything and run. Fear is one of those notorious things that it makes you do things that you really aren't making decisions about yourself. We are encouraging, from this book in particular, and this entire month, that you face everything and rethink. Because even though we are an optimistic people, we don't run away from the conditions and challenges in our life at all. In fact, we take authority over them. We talk about overcoming. The difference between overcoming is there are people who would like to tell you that your life can just be perfect and free of all pain and concern and everything else. And if that's your life, amen to you. But for the rest of us, we have to overcome. There's things in life that we have all experienced that I have to overcome, but I will not be defeated, so I have decided to overcome. That's why we say you can change your thinking and change your life, because it's about overcoming power. It's about that thing that's inside of you that is more powerful than anything that presents itself in your life, that lets you know you can go on. And I have learned if something or someone really no longer serves me, I can let you go, and I can let it go, and I can have a different thought that works for me. Thank you, Reverend Zola. I'm going to preach that. God knows I am. The original sin, I believe, I teach that the original sin is the idea that we are separate from the divine. And once you believe that you can be separate from the divine, almost anything is possible. See, you believe that you are running outside of God and you can just do whatever you want and hurt whoever you want and you can operate totally in fear. That's because you believe that there is such a thing as separation. But we don't believe that. We don't teach that because we know that we have never been disconnected. We may turn our attention away from the divine. We've all done it. I've done it. We look in the wrong direction. We think something else is a solution for our experience. We think certain things that we do that temporarily give us relief are an answer for our circumstances. And then we find out when it's all said and done, he goes all the way back to love because love is all there is. And the divine is always there, and it's always there to empower us. It's right where we left it. We turned from it. It didn't turn from us. God is love, and love is all there is. And once we see ourselves as separate, almost anything is possible. We sometimes just act out because we feel that there is some separation, because we are looking for a place to belong. Everyone wants to belong. What was the song on Cheers? You just want to go where everybody knows your name. Yeah, you want to go someplace where everybody knows your name, and not only knows your name, know who you are, and they love you anyway. That's what community does. You know, you love me anyway. I'm sure there are times in life, there are things that I do that are not loving and lovable, but you love me anyway. We all want to belong. And that's what we do here, I think, better than any place I've ever been. You feel like you belong. People are excited to see you. You feel like I come through the door and I am home. Tell me the first time you came here, you didn't feel that. I feel like I'm home. That's what people tell me all the time. I walked in the door and I felt like I was at home. Now, God is not an abstract concept at all. It's not like gravity. That's not true at all. God is relational, unconditional, and uncontrolling love, and operates by law. So we all get to operate in the law, but not everybody's operating in love. Because when we are in fear, we're not in love. We hear these things that give us fear from the news and the people we encounter. Even if you choose to not watch the news, if you run into somebody, they got a story. They can tell you about all the disasters that are going on in the world. And I'm here to tell you, I understand that they're all true. But we cannot get stuck in the disaster. There are those of us that have to believe and see the good beyond. That's what we do. We look beyond the circumstances and look for divine perfection to reveal itself. I'm not fighting everything in the world to overcome it. If I overcome it within me, I got victory. And if I got victory and you got victory, we'll all get victory. How do we respond? Because we are in fear. We set intentions for our goals, but now it is time to plan for fear. Because sometimes in the fear, it is precisely what we need to do. Now, we're an optimistic people. Of course we are. We don't live in rose-colored glasses, but we're an optimistic people. We look at all things as potential and possibility, and there is an infinite amount of possibility available to us. So we don't run away from our experience of fear. We learn to face them. And to remind you, when Donna Summer sings The Last Dance, and you're trying to figure out who's going to lead the dance, once you realize that fear is leading the dance, you realize you better take over and lead the dance for yourself. Because love is always able. And we may toss it back and forth, and fear may be in charge, and then I may be in charge. But once I recognize it, once you recognize you are operating in fear, it is your responsibility to take authority over your own mind. If you are so concerned about what everybody else needs to do and how everybody else is wrong, you are following a diversion. If you get yourself back to your own business, then we can change the world. We are fueling the entire world with fear with our behavior. And we have to change. Once we know that there is change possible, we have to change. We understand that love is able, and it is able to do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can even ask, think, or have an idea of. There is good in store for you if you're willing to accept it. And if God is for us, tell me exactly who can be against us. There's nothing that can be against you when God is for you, but you have to recognize that's true. Because if you don't recognize it's true and you are living in fear, you will handle it the wrong way. I guarantee you. We understand that everything happens in life is a condition. It is subject to change. And when only divine goodness is eternal, it is always there. It is always available to regardless to the circumstances and the situations that we are in. The God did not give us a spirit of fear. We talked about this last week, but of power and love and a sound mind. And a sound mind. A self-control, a mind of self-control. But fear shows up, and it shows up with disguises. And some of you feel that I have not stepped on your toes yet this month. I promise you to do it today. I promise you. Don't have any fear. I am here for you today. Fear comes disguised as anger, rage, and resentment. It comes disguised as worry, anxiety, and regrets. It comes as judgment, superiority, and inferiority. I really like the superiority thing. And hate, selfishness, greed, jealousy, and envy. Am I reading your news to you? It comes as shame, guilt, embarrassment, and perfectionism. And it comes as loneliness, revealing our vulnerability and our pride. And then there is this thing that we all have to deal with called uncertainty. Uncertainty, isn't that the most uncomfortable thing in the world? To not be really sure that you are on a sound foundation. And we have to be reminded of that. And when we are uncertain, what do? We procrastinate, and we don't make a decision, as if not making a decision is not a decision, because it is. Now, fear is not all bad. If you are in danger, you better have some fear, because that's going to empower you to freeze, flight, and as Barbara shared with me last week, Rick, there's a fourth one. It's called flop. When you just totally concede to the circumstance that you are not going to, you just give in to the experience. Are you floppy this morning? Before she left last week, she came up and she said, look at this, and I appreciate that because I went, oh, I learned something. Floppy. Are you floppy? Are you floppy? Fear has a physiology. Remember, we talked about it. You go brain dead. Your higher functions freeze and you only operate in this survival mode. Now, can you imagine someone who is living in fear? And they are living always believing that something is wrong, that there's a devil under every bush, and that everyone they meet that is just not like them is a threat to them. That's what goes on with people who are living in fear. And that's the world that we are living in right now. They see you as the enemy. Not just us, other people, anybody that is not like them. So we should have some compassion. We are not excusing them from having an accountability at all. But we should have some capacity because all of us has had some fear at a point in time and probably not handled it well. But when you are in danger, you need to operate in fear. But we must have compassion for those people who live in fear. They see devils everywhere and under every bush. And when we live in fear, we only flee, freeze, flight, or flop. I'm never going to forget that flop. You're just floppy. But we should have compassion. We often see things that are not there when we are in fear. It really didn't happen, and they really didn't do it, and they didn't mean it that way, but we see it the wrong way. Because here's the thing, we become self-occupied, that everyone is against me, everyone has turned against me, no one loves me, and that is all a story that we make up. Now, Tim Ferriss says you need to plan for fear. Now, the principles of Stoicism are based on the fact that you distinguish what you can control from what you cannot control. It is an operating system for dealing in stressful environments. Are you in a stressful environment? Then you need to distinguish between what you can control and what you can't control. Now, I will never walk away from our philosophy because when you figure out what you can't control, that's what you have the Spirit for. It's not there for you to flop. It's for you to be empowered by the divine to overcome what you cannot control. That's why we can take control over the condition. So our philosophy does not conflict with Stoicism at all. It's actually very complementary. When we need to, we turn to the internal power that is within us to overcome our circumstances. Because if we are in fear, God didn't give it to us. It's power and love and a sound mind has been given to us. So we have this power within us that we can access if we turn to it. And fortunately, it never leaves us. If we forget today, if we access it tomorrow, it's still there. So you need to create your plan for fear. So here's how this goes. You need 3 pages. On the first page, you're going to draw 3 columns. In the first column, you're going to list the top 10 to 20 things that you are afraid of. Tell the truth. If you are afraid of it, list it out. In the second column, you then have to say, and you have to reflect and say, just because these things can happen, what can I do to prevent it? And any small effort in the direction of preventing it, you should celebrate. And then there is the third page, which says, if it does happen, how do you repair it? Now, the second page of this exercise is you must then define what is the benefit of partial success. Even though we see it as a fear, if we can move in any direction and minimize its effect on us, how can we celebrate it because it is a success? And this prevents us from being paralyzed in our fear. It's easy to just get paralyzed. You don't know what to do. The third thing is, the third page is for those 10 to 20 things that you list. What is the risk of inaction? Inaction has a cost. If you don't deal with it, what is the cost if we don't deal with it? Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often from imagination than we do from reality." So now that we have this plan for fear, now the question is, how do we address it spiritually? And the issue here goes back to the line that just God's got your back. You are not in this alone. We walk through the valley of the shadow of death, not death, the shadow of death. It's a reflection. So many of the things that we experience are a reflection of what is true, but how we look at them is the danger. And we believe in this control of conditions through this power of this mind, because if we didn't believe that, then we would be hopeless. But that means that we have lost the idea that love is all there is. The spiritual plan of action is to face our fears, to rethink and allow the divine to guide us to overcome what we feel we cannot control. So let's rehearse the principles that we have learned this month. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. And if there is no separation, fear has no power of its own. What is in you is far more powerful than anything that is against you. Can you believe that? Has someone overcome the circumstances or the fear that you have experienced in your life? If they have overcome it, so can you. Same God, same power, same authority. It's impartial. It's always there for us to use. If someone has overcome, so can you. Remember, God is love and law. Love and law operates by law, but the unconditional, uncontrolling love of God is always with us. The same divine love lives within us all. We have this divine spirit that's better described as dynamite. But what it is there to do is to blow up our individual doubt and unbelief. It's not to blow up everybody else's life, although I'd like to do that. Nonetheless, it's my doubt and unbelief that's an issue. If you are distracted by what is going on in everybody else's life, you are not dealing with your own doubt and unbelief. It is a diversion. It is just an obstacle that has been given to us, but we have the power to overcome. If God did not give us the spirit of fear, then I don't have to keep it. There is no separation. There is only this one power. This power in the world against any power in the world that is against me, I have more power than it has. And I can cast down every fear and exercise my power and authority over the condition. So I still can believe in the controlling of the conditions that I have defined by my fear. And I believe that in controlling these conditions, this is where we are today. We have to control the condition. Remember, no one gives you fear. The fear is triggered in you. It's in us. So fear not. Be not afraid, because God's got your back. And so it is.